Let me get changed real quick. This is your boy, Code Big Blue. You already know the vibes. My name is Diego Antonio Doucette, aka Dad, aka Daddy, aka... Actually, no one calls me any of that shit, but I'm gonna be doing lots of Giants, NFL, all that shebang, sports talk, that kind of stuff. Well, I can't even say that. Mostly NFL. That's all I follow, really. We're gonna be doing a lot of discussions today in specific. We're going to talk about the Giants' team needs, pre-free agency, and the NFL draft. And here are some people who I think potentially could come to the Giants and 100% be a #1 wide receiver or even like a backup tight end. So let's get into the video. This is going to be really, really exciting. So let's dive right into it. So what I have for the Giants pre-free agency and pre-NFL draft, on offense, we do need wide receiver and tight end. Tight end because Evan Ingram he's iffy, very iffy, and I know that a lot and a majority of Giants fans do not like NFL Evan Ingram. What? Because of the amount of drops. He's been injured for many seasons now. I think it's one of his only seasons where he hasn't been injured and missed the entirety of the season or a good amount of games. So we need production, first of all. We need a reliable source to go to. We also need somebody who can block. Now, this could be a backup. This could be someone that we see a good percentage of the snaps from. Here are my wide receivers and tight ends that I think that the Giants could look to target. So this is free agency potential pickups. We're going to be doing the NFL draft talk in a few days from now. I haven't figured out the exact upload schedule, so bear with me. So the first person I think that the Giants could potentially go after because of versatility in the slot on the outside and who provides a pretty good amount of production in his past years at Buffalo, Zay Jones. He is age 25, 6'2", 202 pounds, so he's a tall threat. He was drafted by the Bills in 2017 in the 2nd round. A player taken that high, you would expect a good amount of production and productivity from that person. Now, that may not have been the case in these past few years, but that could be because they were not using Zay Jones properly. And here's just some notes that I have on Zay Jones himself. PFF graded him at 62.9 in 2020. Now, you may be seeing that and thinking to yourself, why would that even be somebody that we would want to even go after? Don't we want somebody who can provide a lot of production and would probably have a higher grading than that? We all know our receiving core is not the best. It's probably one of the worst in the NFL. Zay Jones also was not utilized and used hardly ever at all in Las Vegas this year. But Zay Jones had an abysmal, I'm talking fucking abysmal, role in the Las Vegas offense. In 16 games, he only started in 2 of them. Now, granted, he is backing up players like Nelson Aguilar, who had a pretty big year. The rookie Henry Ruggs III. And I think even Hunter Renfrow even got a lot more snaps than him. So in those 16 games, and those 2 games that he only started, he only recorded 20 targets for 14 receptions, 154 receiving yards, and only 1 touchdown. So now you're going to be looking at that for sure as this is somebody that's very lackluster, isn't schemed up properly, and how are we going to utilize him, and why should we even think to bat an eye towards his direction? Well, when you look at 2017 and 2018, when he was still in the Buffalo Bills, he was much more utilized in the Bills offense. Those were his best years. So it gets interesting, okay? So here are some pros and cons of Zay Jones. Let's start off with the pros. He works extremely hard in the film room. He's a tape hound. Now, listen, these are things that I looked up myself. I don't know this guy personally. I don't play in the NFL. I don't do none of that stuff. But this is just stuff that I found online. This could be true, this could not be true, but this is just what I found in the research that I've done on these players. So what he could do is he could provide a tall, speedy, deep threat on the outside or even in the slot against smaller DBs. Like I said, he is taller and he was played in the slot sometimes in college. Even while he was on Buffalo, they utilized him a lot more and they found ways to incorporate him into their offense. So he also does make circus catches look routine. Now, if you remember when he got up that one that one time, which was crazy. I think this was in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, when he got up and he looked like he was like just defying all laws of gravity and physics, just random crazy madness. He did it, okay? He is an athletic guy. I'm not saying just because of that he is athletic, but if you watch his play, he is a pretty athletic guy. He does have really good concentration. Now, we did have a few drops this year, especially in the tight end side of things. Now, I know he wouldn't be used as a tight end But that's just an example of the drops that were on the Giants. Tight end, some of the wide receivers did not come down with a lot of them. So it's interesting. There's a lot of faults on this team this year. I think the catching and the drops were definitely one of them. He does give 100% effort in the blocking game. Pass blocking, the screens, run blocking. You could look at him as somebody who could be reliable in that source. He has really exceptional hands and he catches almost anything thrown his way. So that means that Daniel Jones could potentially look to him as somebody that is reliable to go up and grab the ball and to secure the catch and come down with it almost every time. Now listen, they are in the NFL, so the cornerbacks, linebackers, safeties, they're all getting paid to break up those passes, intercept them, and they're getting paid too. So it goes both ways. So he is an interesting player in that aspect, that he comes down with a lot of the passes thrown his way. So now, like I said, that he is 6'2", he is pretty tall. So he does have a large catch radius. And so that means that he can make tough receptions on passes coming outside of his frame, even in tight coverage. That's including diving receptions on slightly inaccurate passes, high pointed balls. He's going to kind of do it all. Now let's get into some of the cons of Zay Jones. He does not separate consistently, especially in man coverage. And so that means that he can't really create that large cushion that you would want. Now, we already have a little bit of a lack in separation with the receivers that we already have as Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard. He's a great route runner. He is a great route runner. And we also have Golden Tate, but I think Golden Tate will be leaving this year. Shepard, we do have him signed to a couple year, I think 3 more years I think we have with him. Maybe 2, I could be wrong. And Darius Slayton is the speedy guy, but the separation that these players that we have already on the team is not the best. It's not like a Tyreek Hill. It's not a Devontae Adams. It's not all these great players, a Chris Godwin. You know, he just lacks that. Now, I think that these are things that he could potentially work on and get better at, especially in a role where he would be used a lot more. They would be looking and relying on him to do that kind of stuff. So I think that they will be working extra hard with him to kind of learn how to do that. Fake out a defender. Do this, that, and the next thing. To end up making that separation a lot more probable for him. So now he does lack the burst and the explosiveness after the catch. So look, he is physical and he is tough. So it's going to be hard for defenders to bring him down, especially cornerbacks, safeties, those kind of things. But he will not run away from defenders. He's not going to get that, break that one tackle and then be gone for like 50 yards. He's not going to do that. He does give that effort though. He does give the effort, and it is going to be kind of hard for them to bring him down, like I said. So you can kind of respect him on that sense. Now this brings me to my last con about him. He does not use his hands properly and effectively when he is jammed. So therefore, it could cause a struggle against physical cornerbacks in press coverage. This is definitely one of the more things that I feel like Joe Judge could work with him on. Definitely teach him and bring him up to speed for next season. And I think that could be something that he could definitely improve on. And I could see him improving on that if the Giants were to bring him on. Now, let's get into the stats of this player, Zay Jones. In 2017, when he was on Buffalo, he played in 15 games but started only for 10 of them. He had 793 snaps, 74 targets, 27 receptions, 316 yards, 11.7 yards per reception, 2 receiving touchdowns, 0 fumbles, and 5 drops that year. So that was his rookie year. He was definitely not getting that separation, which is what I think is why he didn't really get those yards after catch, the yak. Maybe that's why he had 316 receiving yards that year. That could be why. Maybe they just weren't throwing it to him enough, but I mean, it was 74 targets, and he came down with 27 of them. But now when you look at the 2018 year, the year right after, he was still in Buffalo. He played in 1 extra game. He started in 5 more games. He got an extra 148 snaps, 28 more targets, 29 more receptions, 336 more yards than the year prior. He did also get an extra 5 receiving touchdowns. He did get 1 fumble that year, and he did manage to drop 2 less passes, so that's a plus. Now, this was his biggest year. So he only spent 2 years in Buffalo until he got traded to Oakland. So in 2019, he played in 15 games, started 9 of them. He got 643 snaps. He was targeted 45 times. He caught the ball 27 times. He only had 216 yards. He had 8 yards per reception, and he had 0 receiving touchdowns that year in Oakland. 0 fumbles and 0 drops. Granted, he was not targeted as much and he was not utilized Hardly ever. Now, if you want to look at the statistical part of that, he played in 1 less game, started in 6 less. He had 298 less snaps than the year prior, 29 less receptions, 436 less yards. He went down 7 touchdowns. The year prior, he had 7. He had 1 less fumble, so that's good, but he barely got the fucking ball. And he dropped the ball 3 less times. Like I said, he was not targeted as much. Now comes in the year 2020, the most fucked up year I think I've ever been alive, and I've been alive for 20 fucking years. Now this is where shit gets really sad for Zay Jones, because he is not being utilized at all. So, now, Las Vegas Raiders. We gotta have a little conversation. We have a little conversation right now. In 2020, in Las Vegas, he played in 16 games, started in only 2 fucking games. He got 288 snaps, 20 targets for 14 receptions. He was almost perfect in that category. But he only had 154 receiving yards. The fuck? Excuse me? He had 11 yards per reception, so that is basically where he was at in the first 2 years while he was on Buffalo. He had 1 receiving touchdown, 0 fumbles, and 2 drops that year. So, take for it what you will. I said that he was not being utilized properly in the Las Vegas and Oakland scheme, and I feel like if he were to continue to play for the Buffalo Bills, I feel like they might have actually got him to flourish, and I think that they could have actually had something special. I'm not exactly too sure the reason why they traded him. I haven't done research on that, and I kind of only really stick to Giants news and not really league news in those years. Now I'm starting to kind of get a little bit more into NFL kind of news and everything like that. But this is our first target that I think the Giants could go after, and I don't think he would have a high demand when it comes to his contract. I don't think that he's going to be demanding crazy, ridiculous amounts, and I think that we could get him on a cost-effective deal, which is what we are looking for, especially in this cap-riddled year. This is Zay Jones, and I think that he could potentially be a target that the New York Giants could go after. Oh, before we get any further into this, I'm actually going to cut it here. We're going to split this up into 5 different videos. This is video number 1, numero uno. We're going to split up into 5 videos because I don't want to like drag it on. Plus, I didn't realize how much I recorded. I recorded a lot. So 5 videos, 2 more wide receivers, and finally 2 tight ends that I feel like the Giants could go after. Now hold the fuck on. If you're still here, I need you to subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and like the video. Maybe comment down below if you feel like Zay Jones could be a potential pickup the New York Giants could go after. And I'm only saying that they might go after Zay Jones is because, one, the versatility, but 2, along with many other things, but this one I think would be the main things, because I think he would sign a team-friendly contract. I don't think he's going to demand too much. He hasn't really been a wow factor for him to kind of like demand that. Maybe he could eventually do that for the New York Giants if he were to come to us, or even another team that he were to go to. I wish him all the best, but I feel like the Giants could potentially go after him and see him as a potential pickup. I think Allen Robinson, Kenny Golliday, Chris Godwin, all these players are like have far more establishment in the NFL, but who's to say that they might not get franchise tagged, signed by another team, decline us? We don't know what might happen, but I feel like Zay Jones is a fly under the radar. Let me know if you guys agree with me. If you could disagree with me, please let me know both. I want to hear both sides, good, bad. Let me know. I'm out. I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow. Peace.